My first raised beds were only 6 inches deep and surrounded by rock. In my hot, dry desert climate, that setup heated up and dried out fast, making growing a lot harder than it needed to be. Over time, I realized the problem wasn't just the heat, it was the setup. So today I'm putting this bed together step by step and showing you the 5 things that make the biggest difference if you want raised beds to work better in a hot climate. First, create the right microclimate. In a hot climate, it isn't always just about finding the perfect spot. It's about making the spot you have work a little bit harder and creating a better microclimate. When possible, choose a location that gets morning sun and afternoon shade. Try to avoid the hottest reflected heat areas that get late afternoon sun. But with any exposure, block walls and rocks can absorb, reflect, and radiate heat. The area around the bed matters almost as much as what's inside of it. So what do? I'll show you what I did. I added vines to these walls. They reduce how much heat that wall reflects back into the garden. I also replaced all the rocks with mulch. This area is naturally shaded in the afternoon, so I don't need shade cloth here. But if your bed gets a lot of afternoon sun, shade cloth can help create that cooler microclimate. Doing all of these little things improve the area around your garden bed. Use a deep raised bed. Once you have the best spot you can, the next step is building a bed that can handle heat better. My first raised beds, only 6 inches deep, and that wasn't enough soil in my hot, dry climate. They heated up and dried out, and it was hard to have plants grow well once it got hot. I recommend using a bed that's at least 12 inches deep. Deeper is even better. This one is 17 inches. With a deeper bed, moisture lasts longer, roots have more room to grow down, and the soil temperature stays more stable in hot weather. That gives you a little more margin for error when temperatures climb. Keep competing roots out. If a raised bed is drying out fast and plants are struggling no matter what you do, don't just look at the surface, look underneath. I had another bed in this side yard that wasn't growing well, and I couldn't figure out why. It was drying out unusually fast, the plants were struggling even when I watered, and it was performing worse than any of the beds around it. When it came time to pull everything out, I dug down to see what was going on. The bed was full of citrus tree roots. My neighbor's very happy lemon tree was using my raised bed as a feeding and drinking ground. Those roots were stealing water and nutrients from the bed, so there was hardly anything left for my plants. No wonder they weren't doing well. To fix that, I dug down, removed all the feeder roots, and installed an 18-inch root barrier, 30 feet of it, down the entire length of this garden area. That way, hopefully, roots from nearby trees and even the vines cooling these walls stay out of the beds. Fill it with soil built for hot climates. Now that the bed is in place and protected underneath, let's talk about what goes in it, the soil. Raised bed soil for hot, dry climates needs to do a few things at once. Hold moisture and create an environment that gives roots the air and nutrients they need. That's why I use a custom mix instead of filling beds with native soil or whatever bagged mix is cheapest. If the soil drains too fast, water runs right through it. If it gets too dense, roots struggle. My mix from Arizona Worm Farm includes compost and worm castings, coco coir, and perlite to create a balance of nutrients, moisture retention, drainage, and airspace. I also fill the bed all the way up to take advantage of all the room in the bed. Healthy, microbially active soil helps support stronger, healthier plants and has more water holding capacity, which matters even more in the heat. Now that the bed has the right soil, the last step is making sure water reaches the whole bed evenly and stays there. My first raised beds were watered by hand. That worked for a while, but it was hard to keep the whole bed evenly hydrated. Later, I added a drip line, which was better, but it still left dry pockets, which made a lot of the bed unusable. Eventually, I added watering grids to the beds, and they made a huge difference. A watering grid helps cover the whole bed evenly, so you don't end up with dry pockets, stressed plants, and roots only growing where water happens to reach. A grid makes the whole bed usable. In hot climates, uneven watering is a huge problem. When I water, I use a cycle and soak method because the water from the grids comes out quickly. If I'm going to water for 12 minutes, I run the grid for 4 minutes, let it soak in for 30, and repeat that until I've watered for a total of 12 minutes. That gives the water time to absorb instead of just rushing through the soil. A newly filled bed also needs a very thorough soaking to settle the soil and eliminate dry pockets before planting. The goal is not to water more, it's to water better and protect that moisture once it's there. Once the bed is well watered, mulch, mulch, mulch. It helps hold the moisture in place. Bare soil dries out fast, especially in the summer. A thick layer of mulch helps keep the soil cooler and slows down evaporation, which makes a big difference in hot weather. My first raised beds taught me what not to do. But as I've made these 5 changes in raised beds throughout my garden, it's made the biggest difference. Plants are less stressed, which means fewer pest and disease problems. They're healthier, they grow better, and they produce better. Gardening in a hot climate gets a whole lot easier when you set the bed up for success right from the start.